You know the exact voice I'm talking about. You're about to step into a completely standard Tuesday meeting.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just drafting a slightly intimidating email to a new client. Nothing life-threatening.
Right. Totally mundane.
But suddenly, your heart rate spikes. And there's this quiet, persistent voice in your head delivering a, meticulously bullet-pointed presentation on why you were about to fail.
Oh, yeah. The worst case scenario generator.
Exactly. It tells you everyone is going to realize you're a fraud.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt completely trapped in that downward spiral, just self-sabotaging, not because of any actual danger, but simply because of your own internal soundtrack?
It is an incredibly common phenomenon. And I mean, what's most insidious about it is just how invisible it feels.
Right.
That soundtrack plays on a continuous loop, subtly filtering your perceptions and dictating your actions. People often think they're just having a bad day, but they are actually anchored to past pain without even realizing the tape is running.
It feels sort of like carrying around a smartphone with deeply buggy software running in the background.
That's a great way to put it.
You don't even know the app is open, but it's draining your mental battery to zero before lunch. And that tension is really the core of what we're exploring today in our deep dive into episode 5 of The Art of Letting Go by Nick Trenton.
Yes. And our mission here is to dissect exactly why these unconscious negative scripts hold so much authority over your mental health.
And, more importantly, how to dismantle them.
Exactly. To do that, we have to look at the actual mechanics of how these negative self-scripts operate. We aren't just talking about a fleeting bad mood,
Right, like being annoyed about a spilled coffee.
Yeah, exactly. These are deeply grooved, pessimistic neurological patterns. The real danger is their self-reinforcing nature.
Because the brain loves efficiency, right?
Right. So it strengthens the neural pathways we use most. If you consistently ruminate on negative experiences, you automate a cycle of shame and self-blame. Over time, your brain literally defaults to a state of defeat.
Okay, I hear this, but I want to push back on the application here a little bit.
Sure.
Because realistically, when I'm in the middle of a panic attack right before a big presentation, I don't have the cognitive bandwidth to, logically analyze my neural pathways.
Well, of course not.
The anxiety feels entirely consuming. It's a physical wall. My chest is tight. My vision narrows. How do you bypass that immediate physiological reaction? I mean, it can't just be forcing yourself to think happy thoughts and smiling in the mirror.
No, absolutely not. That is the most critical distinction we can make right now. It is definitely not about toxic positivity.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, forcing a fake smile while your nervous system is in fight or flight mode, that can actually amplify the panic because you're fighting your own biology.
So what's the alternative?
We utilize a proven, structured psychological strategy called externalization. It's the foundational concept in narrative therapy.
Okay.
Externalization means you actively, cognitively decouple your identity from the negative thought.
Decoupling your identity. So you stop viewing the negativity as a core feature of your personality.
Precisely. You stop saying, I am anxious or I am a failure. Instead, you treat the anxiety as an external entity.
Like an unwelcome visitor.
Yes, or a systemic glitch. When you create that cognitive separation, you bypass the emotional overwhelm. You regain objective control because you can look at the visitor and decide how to manage it rather than feeling like you are the visitor.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like realizing your brain has an overzealous spam filter.
I like that.
Like if every single benign email gets flagged as a critical cybersecurity threat, you don't throw away the computer. And you don't start believing every email is actually a virus.
Right.
You just recognize, oh, the spam filter is acting up again. It's categorizing normal stress as mortal danger. The filter is doing its job a little too aggressively, but it isn't you.
That is an excellent way to visualize it. And that separation is so crucial for your mental health. Studies show that practicing self-compassion, which requires this externalized distance, leads to significantly greater resilience.
But it's neurologically impossible to be compassionate toward yourself if you think you're permanently broken.
Exactly.
So let's get into the mechanical breakdown. How do we actually spot this overzealous spam filter in the wild? Where do we start?
Step 1 is knowing your negative scripts.
Okay.
You cannot rewrite a piece of code if you don't know what it says or what triggers it to run.
So we need systemic awareness in our daily life.
Yes. You have to start paying very close attention to your internal monologue and tracking the specific triggers that launch the loop. Look for patterns.
Like, does this catastrophic voice always show up when you get vague feedback from a manager?
Exactly. Or when you have to enforce a personal boundary.
And a major part of understanding that script is actually giving this external reflex a name, right?
Yes, it sounds like a trick, but it is incredibly effective.
Right. If you assign it a clinical name like uh, the perfectionism loop or the catastrophe reflex, you immediately isolate its voice from your true rational voice.
Yes, naming it provides the necessary distance. But identifying the voice isn't the final step.
Mm-hmm.
Step 2 is finding the mistaken belief that fuels it.
The engine driving the reflex.
Exactly. These are unconscious, sweeping assumptions you've adopted over your life. They require intentional introspection to drag out into the light.
Give me an example.
So your negative script before a meeting might be, I'm going to stutter, ruin this presentation, and lose my job.
Been there.
Right. But the underlying mistaken belief the engine might be, if I do not perform flawlessly at all times, I am entirely worthless and unlovable.
Wow. And this is where the framework gets completely fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because those mistaken beliefs don't just materialize out of thin air.
No, they do not.
They are usually tethered to a very real, very physical foundational issue.
Which brings us to step 3, tagging the unmet basic need. If we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right. The pyramid structure.
Yeah. Base level 1 is pure biological survival, food, water, sleep, shelter. Without these, our entire nervous system goes into crisis mode.
Okay, what's level 2?
Level 2 is safety and security, physical protection, financial stability.
And then level 3 is the higher order stuff. Love, belonging, self-actualization.
Exactly, fulfilling your potential. But the entire structure collapses if the base is compromised.
It's like trying to build the penthouse of self-actualization while the foundation of the building is sinking into the mud.
That is the perfect analogy. When basic survival needs go unmet, the impact on your psychology is immediate. Tagging the unmet need means pausing when the negative script triggers and asking, what fundamental biological need of mine is currently running on empty?
Let's pause here because this is a massive aha moment. Are we saying that a crushing existential career crisis, this intense narrative telling you you're a fraud, might actually just be the result of a level 1 unmet need?
Yes.
Like maybe you've just had a chronic lack of sleep for the past 4 days, and your brain is misinterpreting exhaustion as imposter syndrome.
That is precisely how the neurological mechanism works. Think about evolutionary biology. Your sleep-deprived brain lacks the resources in the prefrontal cortex to process abstract modern stress.
So it reverts to the primitive survival center, the amygdala.
Exactly. To your primitive brain, a lack of sleep means you are vulnerable to predators.
Yeah.
It signals a life or death crisis, but there's no actual tiger in your office.
Right, so your brain attaches that intense survival panic to the nearest target, your job performance.
It is staggering when you realize it.
We spend so much money on therapy and career coaches trying to cure this deep dread when the actual biological troubleshooting might just be an 8-hour sleep and a glass of water.
It revolutionizes how you handle stress. You just have to watch for the causal chain. An event triggers a negative script driven by a mistaken belief, which is actually flaring up because of an unmet basic need.
It pulls the entire problem out of the abstract I am a failure zone, drops it into a highly actionable physiological zone.
Yes, it's just diagnosing a check engine light. And once you intentionally meet that basic physical need, you're finally in a position to negotiate with that inner voice, which is step 4, rewriting the code.
Right, utilizing neuroplasticity.
Yes, you now have the cognitive distance to know the negative script isn't an objective truth. So you interrogate it. Is this thought based on factual evidence? Is it remotely helpful?
And again, not toxic positivity. Rewriting the script doesn't mean changing I'm going to fail into I'm an invincible genius.
No, your brain knows when it's being lied to.
Right. It means rewiring it to something grounded, like I am facing a complex challenge and I might make mistakes, but I have navigated difficult problems in the past and I can overcome them.
Exactly. It's about realistic, constructive reframing.
I want to explore another unconventional method for externalizing these thoughts, especially for people who struggle to articulate their anxiety through journaling.
Oh, drawing the anxiety.
Yes, literally sketching it out on a piece of paper. It provides immense emotional clarity.
It really does. Because the more someone identifies as an anxious person, the deeper the condition gets. But when you physically draw the anxiety, maybe as a chaotic knot of scribbles or a heavy storm cloud, you force your visual processing cortex to engage.
You literally see the problem as an object occupying physical space outside your body.
Exactly.
It's like looking through a camera with a smudged lens. For hours, you thought the entire world was blurry. But the moment you take the lens off and hold it in your hand, you realize the world is perfectly clear.
Right, you were just looking through faulty equipment.
Drawing the anxiety takes the lens off and puts it on the table. You are looking at the distortion instead of looking through it.
That visual decoupling is what narrative therapy aims to achieve. You view it as an external force, you name it, and then the real work happens. You aggressively acknowledge how it manipulates your behaviors.
Right, auditing its battle tactics. Does it convince you to snap at your partner? Does it force you to endlessly doom scroll on your phone?
Once you map out its tactics, you are no longer a passive victim. You deploy your own tactical overrides.
Like deep diaphragmatic breathing. Or reminding yourself that chronic worry alone won't change the outcome.
Exactly. You are taking decisive mechanical action. By externalizing the problem, you maximize your agency.
So let's distill all this theory into one simple, actionable micro-habit for you to use today.
Perfect.
The very next time you feel a crushing wave of anxiety or you catch yourself in a loop of harsh self-judgment, I want you to immediately pause and apply a systemic name to that external voice.
Acknowledge it. Say, the catastrophe reflex is firing.
And the moment you name it, initiate a biological system check. Don't argue with the thought. Just ask yourself objectively, when was the last time I drank a glass of water?
Did I get enough sleep last night? Am I running on just caffeine and stress?
It is the ultimate grounded approach. The internal critic is screaming about a typo in an email. Let me drink some water, step away from the screen for 10 minutes and see if it's still screaming.
To reinforce the core insight here, your negative self-talk is not who you are. It is an external, outdated script. And you hold the pen to rewrite it simply by identifying your unmet needs.
Clearing out these pessimistic loops isn't just a mental exercise. It paves the way for ironclad resilience, reduced anxiety, and a much more fulfilling life. You are literally making room for a better operating system. If you found value in this, make sure to like and subscribe to get notified about our next deep dive.
And as you move through the rest of your day, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
If you can successfully externalize and disarm your deepest anxieties simply by giving them a name and checking to see if you need a glass of water, what other assumed facts about your limitations are actually just outdated, buggy stories waiting to be rewritten?